Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to the center of Moscow. Yes, I'm back here in Russia after a few weeks holiday overseas, and I've come to the very famous Patriarch Ponds, and I thought I'd take you for a walk around the pond and show you some of the sights and sounds of the nearby streets and a few interesting things along the way. Let's go. So right in front of us is the very famous Patriarch Ponds. Now, it doesn't probably necessarily look beautiful from this angle. They're obviously still preparing some of the grass and gardens around the pond itself. However, what we do want to do is go for a bit of a walk around the perimeter of the pond itself. And it's very famous and very well known here that per square kilometer, there's more beautiful women than anywhere in Russia. Now, hopefully, I can prove this right and not necessarily prove it wrong, that there are so many beautiful women per square kilometer here in Moscow. So as I walk around, just see for yourself what you think. Obviously, lots of people coming out here to take photographs and selfies, and this is the place to be seen and to be heard and to basically enjoy the view. And there's even TV crews, there's bloggers, TikTokers all over the place. And let's hopefully prove the statistics right. Of course, the beautiful pond is the main thing that we've come to see. So please admire the beauty of this pond. Now, they put this hessian down to try to help rejuvenate the grass and get the gardens growing in time for summer. But sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. And hopefully as I walk around, we get to see some nice sights. Just a little bit about this area. It's probably one of the most expensive areas in the center of Moscow to live. There is literally apartments that wrap all the way around this park area. It's a little bit hard to see. In summertime, because the trees are so green, you can't quite see the buildings as well, because it basically just becomes this beautiful spot. Now, you can't swim in the water, and essentially it's a very luxurious duck pond in the very center of Moscow. And so much so they've got guards looking after it, making sure nobody wants to go for a swim. Lots of people like to be by the river's edge or the water's edge, and it's just so tempting to probably jump in. It is very hot today here, literally about 30 Celsius. It's a little bit later in the afternoon now, so it's cooling down a little bit. But the thing with Moscow is you don't really get a breeze, and you're kind of just hoping for some clouds just to make it a little bit cooler. You can see some of the apartments on the other side of the pond right here. And let's keep walking along. Now, where in the world do women outnumber men? But only in Moscow are there more women than men. I think it's one of the few countries in the world that there is more ladies than men. And perhaps just in this area of Moscow, it might be like that. I'm not too sure. So somebody please let me know in the comments what you think and how true it is of this area of Moscow. There's a rule, or there's a saying that it's sod's law, that when you turn the camera on, all of the things that you want to show aren't right in front of you. And all the time that the camera is not recording, you basically miss everything. So I think that's just my luck when I come to this place. But let's see what we can find as we keep walking around. Let's keep walking, shall we? And keep walking along this beautiful path and I actually just ran into a subscriber of the channel as well. And pretty much today, while I've been out in Moscow, around about 30 people recognize me. Pretty much when I walk around the center of Moscow, it's always the way like that. Now, probably the bit I should have shown first was this ramp. And I think this is probably the most noted and photographed part of the pond. We will go down there in just a second. More people just enjoying all of these benches. Now, I'm fairly sure that every single person that comes to this pond, comes to this ramp and takes this photograph, which everybody thinks and reminds you of New York and Central Park. Now, we don't quite have the skyscrapers in the background here, but there is a lot in Moscow. But I'm not too sure what the famous lookout represents. If anybody's been to New York, can you possibly tell me, does it look like Central Park? I mean, there's definitely that feeling. Now, I've been there before myself. Now in winter, this also freezes over as well, and it's a completely different place. In the middle of the pond, there is actually little houses for the ducks and the geese, and they have probably much the most expensive real estate in all of Russia in the middle of that pond right there. Can't imagine what they'd sell that for on Avito if they put a listing for that duck pond or that little house. But maybe somebody has put it for sale at some point, and a few people just enjoying the pond and the temptation to go for a swim in it. So the plan is to keep walking around the pond, basically one full lap, and point out as much of the sights as we can, and the beauty of this small park in the center of Moscow. It's amazing how many people come here to take photographs, and I'm not sure, maybe people watch just like I'm doing. Everybody's looking at me, I'm looking at everybody, and I think that's a little bit the point of this area, and just the general vibe when you walk around here. People on bicycles. Now we're going to get a little bit further around here and get to the main street. There is actually a floating restaurant right on the pond as well, and this very nice cafe where you can have lunch or have some drinks and just enjoy the view. And then if that's not the plan, you can just come to the lookout like I have and have a look. They're actually feeding swans over there, or white swans. Now where I live in Australia, our state bird is actually the black swan. That's kind of a little bit of a piece of trivia for you. People down here feeding the swans. Of course, the main goal of any good blogger and YouTuber is to come only on beautiful sunny days and only show certain things and certain people, and you know, edit all the bits out that shouldn't really make it into a YouTube video. But for me, today's a bit cloudy. You know, it's maybe not as busy as it probably is on some other days of the week, but a lot of people have asked me to come to parks in Moscow, and here I am. So I'm going to keep walking around, and I think my rule about finding all the beautiful women in Moscow here in the center might be foiled. However, we get to come to a very nice part of Moscow, and a very famous part, particularly in summertime like right now, when the weather is at its best and you know the clothing comes off, so to speak, because it just gets that little bit warmer that it's necessary to wear less clothes. Now this is probably the most famous street, and you're going to see a lot of people filming other people. I just want to give a quick shout out to somebody that I just met. That was actually a couple from New Zealand, and actually didn't know that I had a YouTube channel, and probably just heard me speaking English and asked where I'm from. So if you're watching, how's it going? It was really nice to chat to somebody from New Zealand, being that I'm from Australia. We're pretty much neighbours. Let's keep going for a walk, shall we? The only bad part about walking through this street is how loud the music is, and hopefully it won't be too distracting, because each bar basically has a DJ playing music, and they try to drown each other out, and everybody is shooting everybody, and you can get drinks literally on the street right here. And then all of this is all closed down, so there's no traffic today. And there's even the Russia Channel 1 making videos, perhaps because of the fact that this is the summer festival as well, I think. And all of the bars and cafes. And I think, depending on the time of day when you come, there's more or less people here. So somebody needs to let me know. Maybe I need to come later in the evening and check it out a little bit more. So they've got all the different cafes. And interestingly, there's more people walking around than there is actually people sat down enjoying a drink or something to eat. And it's now, I'm probably not talking enough. I should really talk over the music so that we don't get any copyright problems, but the fact there's so many different bits of music playing, it pretty much will cancel itself out, I think. So yeah, what do you think? Now, I guess there's me just walking down the middle of the street, and a lady with a giant drink right there. Not really too sure what's going on. Maybe some people coming to take some photos and videos. I'm not too sure. Maybe anybody can play chess. And now the focus of this video really was to see the beautiful pond and this street at the same time. There's actually a karaoke machine right here, and this is a karaoke vending machine that you actually go in and sing. They've got these all around Moscow. They've actually got them in a couple of shopping centers as well. And these ladies are so eager to be the new Taylor Swifts of Moscow and sing in the karaoke booth. Very interesting. And I think it's just basically coming to these places and just sitting here and everybody walking through looking at everybody else. If that's the right explanation of it all, I'm not too sure. I really hope you're enjoying this video. Actually, the amount of times I've been stopped for a selfie or for people to say hello to me because they recognize me from YouTube. Obviously, when I come to places like this where there's a bigger amount of people, there's a much more higher likelihood that someone will spot me or recognize me. So thanks everybody if you're coming up to me and saying hello. I'm more than happy to take a photo, have a chat, and keep going about making videos. Let's keep going, shall we? Let's keep walking. And there is essentially, this entire street is closed off in both directions. You can actually see the big Kamaz trucks right here. So this is very common in Russia when they have events. Even in my little town, when they close off the roads, they park the trucks to basically block all the traffic from coming up or down the street and stop people wanting to get a little bit closer to their favorite bar. So it's just easier also for the public just to come for a walk through here and enjoy this Patriarch Ponds area in Moscow. It's so interesting when you see everybody else filming everybody else. And if this road was actually open to cars and to the public to drive through here, there'd actually be guys driving with their fancy cars and their luxury cars, and everybody would be going around in circles doing laps, you know, showing off. And then today, they've all got to park their cars kilometers away from the main street here, and then they have to walk to all the cafes. One of the other reasons all the roads are closed off is because they're hosting a summer festival all throughout Moscow and Moscow region, and there's different events going on, and there's actually a painting class right here. Now, if that's the subject up on the steps, let me know if that picture looks like that guy over there. I wonder how close it is. Everybody needs to let me know in the comments. Does that guy look like that guy? And what I will do is I'll walk down to the end of the street, and then I'll do one lap back, because that's what everybody does when they come here. Most people don't necessarily sit and drink or have something to eat. It's just a matter of doing the walk all the way up and all the way down the street, and then where you see guys with their cameras, and what they do is they take photos and then they offer to sell the pictures and put them maybe on Instagram or something like that. And that's how they get famous as a photographer, or at least earn an income from it. Now, for everybody that knows, the Paris Olympics are coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is obviously the training ground for the Paris Olympics and the Russian ping pong team. And this gentleman's doing the biggest training.
Where are you from?
I'm from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, I've come to see the Russian table tennis team in training.
Yeah.
And this is how you play. You play with one hand with a paddle and one hand with an ice cream. And then more Russian table tennis stars in action, ready for the Olympics. And hopefully I don't jinx them at the same time. So this is just in the street, by the way. And this is set up particularly for summertime, like right now. And they have this in different parts of Moscow. And you know, it's just the thing that you do in summertime in Russia. Now, I wish for more blue skies, of course, but I can't always have it that way. Sometimes it's got to be cloudy. So the actual local administration in Moscow call this cafe season, and they allow all the restaurants to put their chairs and tables out on the footpath, and then allow for street side dining. And as long as whatever they set up isn't permanent, you can actually have all the tables that you like on the side of the street here. And you'll see where they've actually got the hostesses And then sometimes they've actually even got the cooks or the guys that mix the drinks right on the street. And this is very much a normal time of year in the center of Moscow. Where I live, we don't even have cafes in Moscow region, so there's not a chance we can have an outdoor cafe if there's no cafes to see. It's a little bit different where I live to that. I wonder what they're filming here. It seems like everywhere they're filming something for some television or some clip. Super interesting. Let's go a little bit further down the road and then we'll do a U-turn and go back. Now again, if all the cars were here as well, we'd be able to do some luxury car spotting, and that's another famous part of Patriarch Ponds. But of course now there isn't any today because they've closed it off specially for this summer event. So it's still a beautiful place to come walking and do some sightseeing, if that's the right word, and just to get a bit of a feeling and a mood here in the center of Moscow. All these apartments here. Can only imagine what the price of some of these places are. I'd be a little bit scared of wanting to check what the real estate is in this part of the center of Moscow. And how nice is it? Everybody just out and about, going for a walk just like me. And where they've closed off the roads especially for this, makes it just that little bit nicer. There's actually a stand over there with Aperol, just quite randomly at the intersection. So yeah, we've almost reached the turnaround point and we'll head on back towards the pond. All right, let's head on back. I actually just stopped for about 5 minutes to have a drink because today is very warm and I've actually walked a lot of kilometers from where I started today. Instead of getting the metro to the nearest station here, I decided to walk about 45 minutes down here. It was actually a nice comfortable walk though, and it wasn't as hot. I guess now it's just getting a little bit warmer maybe with the clouds coming over. I just stopped for an impromptu game of table tennis. Actually, when we walked up the street, that family that was playing, I decided to stop and have a little game on the way back. And I'm now sweating. It's definitely very warm today. Super interesting walking through the middle of the street and everybody doing the same thing. Let's see what this lady is painting. Oh, nice. Maybe it's the streetscape, I think. Looks like the street that we're just walking along right here. Very interesting. I can't paint to save myself. Even if I tried, I couldn't. Maybe with a ruler, I can do a square and a circle, and that's about it. And on the video as I'm walking, oh, hello. On the video as I'm walking, it doesn't look like there's a lot of people here, but trust me, there is a lot more than what it looks like. And I think, as my rule of thumb goes, every time I've got the camera switched on, there's less people. And as soon as I've got it switched off, there's people just flocking by at the same time. So I can't really win. the fish bar. Do you think it's a place where you eat fish or you go to catch a fish? Someone needs to let me know what you're meant to do. Right next door is the pasta lounge. So it's very easy with this smaller camera just to hold it and walk down the street and just film what you see, and I guess do a little bit of voiceover for it at the same time, but you don't really have to. It's just a matter of the right time and the right place, and that's about it. As we get a little bit further along here, this music will get a little bit louder. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Let's see. So what does everybody think so far of Patriarch Ponds and this bar district and this cafe district? Now you can come here in winter. Now obviously all of these outdoor cafes won't be set up like this, and it'll be much more indoor centric. So it's first interesting today because the road is closed to cars. It's a little bit of a different vibe to when you come, when the street is open and people are driving through. It's like we've come to the chess club again. It's just so interesting that in this street full of cafes and bars, they've set up these basically barrels with chessboards on, and you can literally just get involved and play chess. No worries at all. And there's even a little quiz table set up where you can do questions. And I wonder what they're asking or what they're expecting as the answers. Now all the different bars, music starts kicking in again. I really hope you're enjoying this, and it's something a little bit different to the videos. Of course, people ask me, come to parks, come to places where there are lots of people hanging around and hanging out, and wow, very loud. Because each bar's music's overlapping each other, you don't really get the sense. And then you get everybody filming everybody who's filming everybody else. Which is just interesting in itself. Right at this intersection. It's like Battle of the DJs almost. And then we've come almost full circle back to where we started, right here. And that is the walk down the main street where is Patriarch Ponds. Now, there is actually some little cafes on the side streets here as well. So there is no end to where you could sit down and hang out. Now, I'm not going to edit anything of this out. I'm going to leave as much of it in as possible. And I want everybody to let me know what you think of the vibe here and what it's like with all of the people. Wow. Okay, let's head on over to the pond and somehow try and wrap up the video, hopefully. Okay everybody, we've come to the end of the video, and I really hope you've enjoyed this walk around of Patriarch Ponds here in the center of Moscow, and perhaps you get a little bit of a glimpse into life in the center of Moscow. Now I know this is not a depiction of all of Russia, and it's not probably close to even where I live, which is 40 kilometers from where I'm standing. We don't actually even have a coffee shop or a street bar to even have that same vibe that we've got right here. So I hope this gives you a bit of an idea of what it's like in the center of Moscow, and whether or not my theory about this area of Moscow having the most beautiful women per square kilometer of anywhere in Russia. And I hope just from this video it's come a little bit true, as there's a tour guide doing a little historical tour around the pond here. So yeah, give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Post a comment, let me know what you think. Would you like to see more of these walking style videos around Russian parks, around the parks here in Moscow? Let me know in the comments. If you want to follow me on Telegram, there's a link right here. You can click that for Telegram. And if you want to watch an older video on the channel, you can check out something you haven't seen before, perhaps another park in Moscow. Thanks everybody. I'm off on another adventure. Bye.